No.
Oh, there
Can
we
you
go. Can you hear us now?
can you hear us now? Butter, butter smooth. Yes, perfect.
Okay,
Okay, do
perfect.
you want to re-say all that?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, this is take two. And if someone could check to see if I'm on YouTube, I believe it started, and Facebook, that would be great. Um, so let's see here. I'm going to actually just check Twitch too to see if I could get in the chat here. Because
You're
I'm
on YouTube. You're on YouTube.
okay, I'm not present in the chat here. A lot of technical things that we've had, guys, going on. Definitely a lot of technical things as well going on. Okay, let's see if I could see the chat. Oh, grits and butter. Okay, there we go. Okay, I could see the chat. All right, so we're going to start this all over again. Hopefully, the audio is sounding okay and crisp. Let us know as well. You guys are going to be my technical people here. But I was going to say, welcome YouTube, Facebook, and of course, Twitch. This is a new and exciting podcast, our first podcast, official podcast that we're going to be doing and posting. So, welcome everyone on all the platforms you're on. And of course, anyone that's listening to this podcast today, we're talking about what is surrounding purpose in your life. You know, a lot of people go through life and they're not quite sure what their purpose is, me being one of them for many, many years. And now I have a pretty good idea of what purpose is and destiny and what we should be doing in our lives, how we should make the important decisions in our lives. What legacy do we want to leave behind before we pass away? So we're going to dive into a lot of deeper issues and just things surrounding purpose. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I have Beauty Blossom here as well. And she's going to also introduce herself and let you know what platform she's on so you could add her and hear her incredible story. So we're just going to be talking about purpose and everything that surrounds that today. So I hope you guys enjoy. We won't be in the chat and doing any shout outs or anything like that because this is a recorded podcast. But we will hopefully be seeing you in the comments and maybe type away. But yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, Beauty Blossom, and what platforms you're on as well.
Yeah, so you can find me only on TikTok. I'm very simple. My user ID I think is T Beauty Blossoms. I think that's it. Or just try Beauty Blossoms, but I think it's T Beauty Blossoms on TikTok. So you can find me there.
Okay, and what kind of content will they find from you when they check you out as well?
Basically I'm just sharing my crazy story of how I found God and it literally transformed my life. And then basically anything kind of faith based and life related kind of advice for life, how to make your life a little better.
All right. And Beauty Blossom has a crazy story, guys. A very, very crazy, crazy story. It's very interesting. And I can't wait to hear and see her book when she
Oh
publishes
boy.
it. Yeah. It's filled with drama. It's a lot of days of our lives, her story. She was a little wild one.
Yep.
She's definitely a little firecracker, but so am I a little bit apparently. So, purpose, we're talking about purpose. Is there anything that you want to start off with, just kind of what comes to mind for you when we think about the word purpose as well?
Yeah, I think this is one of the reasons why we have such a huge problem with mental illness because I think people lack purpose. They don't know why they're here. They don't know what they're supposed to do. And they become stagnant, right? And then they use other things to maybe numb themselves or distract themselves. So if you don't have any sense of purpose, I think that's the outcome.
For sure. Now, it's kind of interesting because we're taught so many different things, especially in school. when we were growing up, but we weren't really taught that, or what our true purpose is, what we're really supposed to be doing here on earth. Like, we're not really taught any of those things in school.
No, we're taught like basically everything we learned in school, I feel we don't use much of, maybe like the simple math and simple English, but when it comes to like even how to budget your finances, taxes, like they don't teach you any of this stuff in school.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you think, you know, if people live their lives with no purpose, or they don't know what their purpose or their God given destiny is here while they're like living here, what do you think that kind of does to a person just living life, like going through life, just going through the motions? Or what do you think it does to someone that really doesn't know what their purpose is?
Well, I think that's why a lot of people are depressed, heavily in a heavy depression and filled with anxiety as well, right?
Mhm.
Part of the reason I would say, but if you don't if you don't know why you're here, then what's the point of being here? And so you're just trying to fill up time somehow, some way. Um, and if you don't find your purpose, then, essentially you're kind of wasting your own life. I would look at it like that.
Mhm. So true. Yeah, and we can't really blame anyone, cuz yeah, we weren't taught this. Our parents didn't know this. Our parents were just probably just surviving as well, right?
Mhm.
So it's like the pattern continues through generations. You know, it's like we don't know what we're doing. Our parents didn't know. Our grandparents were just surviving. Like, it's just like constant cycle.
Absolutely. And that's, I don't want to go too deep into it, but that when you look at the grand scheme of things, right? I know many people don't like to go there, but it comes down to, okay, what is the truth and what is a lie? What is the deception here, right? So the world makes it seem like, okay, if you do this and that, if you get all this money, if you, indulge into all these pleasures of life, you're going to feel satisfied. But then it ends up coming short because, a lot of people, especially millionaires and people like that, where they could have done everything, and a lot of them end up doing some horrible things because there was no sense of purpose. Their only purpose was to get as much money as they can, and that will never be fulfilling.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? I don't know if you've ever idolized celebrities. I know I have idolized different people, and it's so disappointing when you put people on a pedestal or a platform, and then you see them fall or fail, and you're like, man, like, I can't believe I looked up to that person so much, you know? And we're seeing it everywhere with celebrities, right? With Hollywood, with the music industry. How do you feel? What are your thoughts around that as well? And yeah, we can go deep. That's fine.
um yeah, I think a majority of the population gets caught up in that. That's why they present it to you, right? That's why they want you to see it, especially when, we grew up on music videos and they're purposely wearing the fashionable clothes, the expensive ones, the gold chains, the nice cars. They present you this image, and that always makes you think, oh, if I get this and that, I'll finally feel fulfilled. I finally would have made it. But as you notice, especially in the culture we're living in now, and all these kind of celebrities are kind of falling from grace, you see that wasn't the truth. That was actually a lie that they paid into, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's true. I think it's a lie that we all have kind of painted into in every area of our lives. I can say that when I climbed up the corporate ladder, you know, and that's all I wanted to do was to get in that office, have that marble office, be on the 20th floor, like skyscraper building. And once you work enough skyscraper buildings, you're like, yeah, I don't know if this is really for me anymore, you know? And you have the millionaire like dollar dream, and you see that a lot in entertainment too with following, right? Your worth relies so much on striving, performing, your following. You know, you can do a party or something and have 500 people love you, and then you have that one heckler, and it just brings down your entire night because you're just focused on, you know, the negative words that you heard, even if 500 people loved you. So I think in entertainment and in the corporate world, at least for me, performance and striving has always been, and people pleasing, always been a very, very big and large part of, I guess, my identity. You know, was there anything that you can say for yourself that was a large part of your identity as well growing up?
I wouldn't say I struggle with that. I was definitely different from a lot of people. I at a young age, I would constantly think about my mortality. Um, talks in Ecclesiastes about it's better to be at funerals than parties, because you realize, okay, how truly short your life is. So I never fell into the trap of, wanting these things. I mean, sure, it would be nice if I got them, but it wasn't my main focus. Um, for me, I always wanted to know the truth. And I kind of discern what was a lie versus the truth. So I didn't fall into that whole what the world presents as, okay, if you get all these things, there you go, you're going to be good, right? I knew that was a lie.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I would say I wanted to find it in a relationship. I looked for it in relationships to feel satisfied. So I looked for my purpose in other people. Um, that one day, they could make me happy. And that's a facade as well, because everybody's a broken individual. Everybody is on their own path to healing, and we're never going to be perfect. So I looked for my purpose. I thought once I get the relationship, once I fall in love and meet the man of my dreams, then I'll finally, feel satisfied. But that wasn't the case.
Yeah, so true. And it's interesting how our identities lie in different things. Like my identity never lied in a man or trusted that. So it's like I put all my efforts into achievements, like, you know, being financially free or like climbing up the corporate ladder, you know, doing the best I could in school, like just trying my best, just financially and climbing up that ambitious route. So that's
Mhm.
where my identity lied. And then of course people pleasing in this industry, but then yours, it's interesting cuz your identity, you know, relied more in a relationship or how they viewed you. Would you say looks as well, or maybe using beauty or using different things like maybe as an asset or anything like that?
Yeah, of course. I never was one who looked at myself as being, this great looking person. I thought I was average, but because of the attention that I used to receive, I definitely used it to my advantage, um, to try and get what I wanted, especially when it came to men, right? So,
Mhm. And I had to work
yeah.
a little harder that way. I had to work a little harder, circle the room, talk to everyone, that sort of thing. So it is interesting, and I'm glad you're sharing that because I think a lot of people could relate. There's so many different ways that we just fill that void in our lives, right? And place our
Mhm.
identity in just things that don't matter. Um, so I think we've all done that, right? And I think, you know, mortality and that's great that you thought about that at a very young age. For me, I started thinking about those things more when I had friends pass away, my ex-boyfriend as well, and just those things really brought, um, really brought it to the forefront. Oh my gosh, like what am I doing with my life? What is my purpose? Why am I still here? Those things really hit me hard, especially seeing so many friends pass away as well. But that's great that you were able to see that at a young age as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember being in my teens, and I started, I was already reading the Bible, and I remember seeing that verse, and I was like, that is so true. Like, I think I was like 15 at the time, but that kind of set my tone going forward. Like, that's what even though I would love to party, don't get me wrong. um that would always be in the back of my mind,
Hmm.
consistently.
Yeah, that's so true.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, definitely with that, and just growing up as well. It's interesting how things. Do you feel like things have changed a lot, like from back then till now, when you look at purpose?
Oh yeah, because as you get older, hopefully there's growth, right? There should be constant learning. You should have learned from previous, mistakes you've made and whatnot. So, and then I think you're just, especially in the last 5 years, um, you see that the world that we used to live in is definitely not the same. Um, so if you're awake to that, right, you're gonna see, like, okay, what really matters? Like, what does this all come down to at the end of the day? Especially I know you've seen a lot of people pass away in the last 5 years, right? I've seen, a good handful of people pass away. So it really gets you thinking. It kind of stops you and says, okay, what am I doing here? You're kind of like, regrouping on how you've lived your life and now how you want to go forward living the rest of your life.
Just trying to fix my headphones here so I
No
could hear
worries.
you properly. Yeah, that's so true. I was just in the grocery store just listening to Whitney Houston and just thinking how many artists we've lost, how many people have passed away, how many people that were at the top of their game and so, just amazing at what they did here. Like, I really believe they fulfilled their talents here, but there's a difference between fulfilling your talent here and actually doing what, God is calling you to do. They're two different things, right? You could be at the top of your game and gain all these riches, all this wealth, all this status, you know, be at the top. Everyone's glorifying you. But then I often think, like, how many of those people are at your funeral, Like, how
Mhm.
forgotten you are years later, maybe 20 years, 30 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I look at this generation, how many people know Elvis Presley or, the Beatles or just, I mean, I would hope that people still know them, right? But if you ask the younger people, how many of those artists that passed away, how many of those people how are they going to be known, right?
Mhm.
So then it makes me think, what is the point in obtaining all these riches and gaining billions of dollars? Um, I think of Prince's life, right? When he gained all these riches and he was in an elevator alone and passed away. It makes me think, with the billions of dollars you have, the great one of the greatest performers of all time. What is your life going to mean after, and what is your legacy going to be?
Right. And that's the key. That's what it all comes down to, right? But people are so distracted by what the world can offer you. And once you get there, once you get it, you realize, like, okay, what did I live my life for? Right? And you're right. What kind of legacy did I really leave? What kind of, name did I make for myself?
Hmm. Or what do you do for others too, right? Because even the
Mhm.
legacy is not even about us, right? It's kind of like, what did you do in this world to impact community, to help others, to love others? Like, there's so many different things when it comes to serving others. What do you do, right?
100%. Yeah.
Is there anyone that you could think of that, um, kind of was a servant leader, or anyone that kind of inspired you that you could think
Mm,
of that did things?
that's famous.
Or they don't even have to be famous, but just any, is there anyone that kind of comes to mind that have done different things?
Honest, yeah, honestly, the two older people in my old church, like they're 80 and their schedule is more busy than a normal person's schedule, and they're doing it all for free. So they're serving people by counseling people, meeting with people constantly, like literally their schedule's full 6 days a week, and they don't charge for anything. They constantly have people at their house. Like that's my goal to get to, right? That's my goal, is like, how can I now live my life serving other people? Because since I decided to share my story on TikTok, I didn't expect for anything to really come out of it. I really didn't. Um, but then when people started reaching out to me, and all these different things started happening, I had never felt fulfilled like that in my entire life, right? I remember going, like, I love partying. I love to go out dancing. Okay. It'd be like the highlight of my week. I couldn't wait for it. But at the end of it, I still was left empty inside. Like, it didn't fix my problems, right? Sorry, my cat. Um, and I had never known that after I shared my story, something simple as that, and then people started reaching out to me saying, wow, like you really helped me, or whatever the case may be. I didn't know there was a feeling like that, to feel fulfilled like that. It was like, okay, I think I'm on to something. I think I found what it really means to serve your purpose while you're living here on earth. And that's to serve others in whatever capacity that may mean for you.
So it should never be about like the numbers, or it should just be about like that one person or that one soul at a time, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there was even, and the video just recently popped up, but there was a video I made, and the the person reached out to me and said, "You just stopped me from unaliving my life today." And I was like, "What?" Like,
Wow.
yeah.
That's crazy.
So when and to go back, like I did not want to share my story. Like, there's just parts of my story that are ugly, parts that I'm not proud of, parts that are very traumatic. I didn't want to share that with the world, but God kept God kept like pounding my heart and pounding my heart for over a year. I could not get this off of my mind and my heart. So once I finally did it, you know, not saying that it was easy, because it wasn't easy. But as time went along and I realized that God literally showed me, this is what I want you to do, and then he started showing me why. Um my trust in him obviously increased, my faith increased, and I finally realized, like, this is what I should be doing. This is why I'm here. It's in order to help others, to serve others, to pull others out of certain mindsets and certain, depressions and whatnot. Um, and that's, since I've done that, I think it's been 2 years now. I don't know if it's 2 years or 3 years. I started in January though, so I think it's my third year coming up. Um, I can't look back now. There's nothing else that really fulfills me other than loving God with all of my heart, and then truly loving others and showing people the truth.
Hmm. How do you think you arrived there? Like, do you feel like everything you went through brought you to this point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's two different paths a person can choose, right? I was on a path. So I grew up, long story short, I grew up raised up in the church, trying to do everything the right way. And then things didn't go like that for me. I felt like I was being more punished than people who were doing things the wrong way. Um, just because of, my marriage didn't work out, my first marriage didn't work out. And then all my friends left me, and then, whatever happened. But along the way I decided, okay, I'm gonna start living my life for me and what I want and what makes me happy. And in that 10 years, maybe 13 years of doing that, I just discovered more and more darkness. I just discovered more and more trauma. I thought things would get better, they actually got worse. So obviously my life changing point was when God showed up to me in the bathroom in the bar, right? I made a decision. Even before that, I started to seek God again, saying, okay, things aren't working out my way. Like, what am I doing wrong here? Um, so after that, I made a commitment, because you don't always feel like doing certain things, but I made a commitment to seek him again, because I knew he promised, he says, if you seek him with all your heart, you will find him. So I was on a journey now, and it was a long journey. It was a slow journey. Um, but sure enough, here I am, and I could tell you that I've never had more peace than I've ever had in my entire life. I rarely have anxiety. I do have worry here and there, but I always take it back to God, and he always fills me with peace again. Like, before, I never had that. Like, I was anxious, I would have panic attacks. I was very angry, filled with rage. Yeah, so it's quite a different life, and you get to decide, because he's given each one of us a free will. So you get to decide what kind of purpose that you want to walk out for your own life.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. And when you realize what God has given us, that it's just not a set of rules. Like it's almost like a love letter to us, right?
Absolutely.
To prevent like consequences or things or horrible things happening to us. But we don't really realize that because everything just feels good. Like it feels good to do things that are really contrary, it feeds our flesh basically, right? It does nothing for
Absolutely.
our spirit, and we're not taught in this world. We're constantly taught in this world to feed our flesh, like feed everything, not just physically, but spiritually, right? Just feed everything you want, indulge in whatever you want. Like it doesn't matter. Everything is okay. But no one shows the consequences to that. Like the world teaches us we could do whatever we want, but it doesn't show the consequences of, hey, if you're going to eat whatever you want, you're probably going to have to deal with diabetes or deal with obesity or deal with, like, if you're not feeding your body properly with the proper nourishments, it's going to feed it like wrong. You're going to start feeling sick, right? If you're
Mhm.
indulging in things that you shouldn't be indulging in, it could bring anxiety, depression, suicide. And I mean, I see it all the time in entertainment, right? I see so
Mhm.
many people at the top of their game, and you'd think, man, their lives are amazing. Like I would love to be where they are at. And that's why we should never compare, because we really don't know, right? And then you hear
Yep.
their stories of getting out of an arena and feeling suicidal or feeling anxiety or having sleep paralysis, right?
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, no money in the world can give you what he can give you. No money in the world could give you that freedom or having a restful sleep at night or having pure joy, right? Basically having the fruits of the spirit. Like no money, no relationship, no nothing on this earth can give you that, right?
Amen, Honeyflow.
Yeah. So that's what I was just thinking. But like, you know, it's interesting because so many people I ask, they definitely struggle with purpose and just their identity and the reason why they're here, and they get stuck in a job. And I've been stuck so many times in the corporate world, climbing my way up, managing, doing all these things, over exceeding and overworking and just being overtired, and just knowing in your heart that's truly not what he's purposed you, like what he's destined you to do. Do you have ideas of how people can really discover their purpose or get to their purpose?
I think first it takes time to just be still, right? A lot of people don't want to be still, they're afraid to be still. But when you're still, you can actually hear from God. Um, Once you drown out the other voices from the world and from other people. And once you tune into that voice, I think he's going to show you the truth. He's going to guide you in the best way for your life, because that's who he is. He cares about you the most. He created you, so he knows you the best. So I would start there, getting to know God. It says that wisdom is gained how? By fearing God, and that's like a healthy fear, having a healthy fear, right? Like a reverential, like, respect. So that's the key to getting wisdom. And if you get wisdom, then that's going to help you find your purpose.
So true. Um, yeah, definitely. I agree with everything you said. I was reading something a while ago and it talked about purpose, how uh, the very thing that angers you, like gets you really upset, keeps you up at night. So when you look at any social injustice or anything that we see in the world that we wish weren't there, that's broken, and you just want to fix it and you can't figure out why no one else around you doesn't have that same urgency. So for example, seeing the global impact of what's happening amongst the church, like the Nigerians, right? What's happening in Nigeria right now with 100,000 people passing away, getting martyred for their faith, or what's happening in Iran with a lot of underground churches rising up and speaking and advocating, saying, hey, I don't want to be under this anymore. And they're rising up and they're trying to do something about it, even though 12,000 people have passed away already. I mean, we see all these things going on around the world, China as well, even within Canada, our own issues and problems, right? So those
Mhm.
things really, really bother me, to the point where I'm like, how come I'm not hearing pastors speaking about this? How come I'm not hearing other people passionate about this? You know, like, so that to me makes me think that's where my passion lies. So they say what the thing that angers you or really keeps you up at night or bothers you is usually where your passion lies. So I would say my passion feels like it's for those people around the world that are getting persecuted for their faith, and also human trafficking, anti human trafficking. My passion lies so much for women and children, with both girls and boys that are going through and stuck in human trafficking. Over 50 million people worldwide are in human trafficking right now, every single city, every single hotel. And it just keeps me up at night and angers me. So that's where I feel like your passion can lie, where it angers you. So it could be homelessness, could be racism, could be, seeing, going to a retirement home. And I know I have a friend, we have a mutual friend, and she's passionate about seniors and helping them in retirement homes. Could be women getting abused. Like, there's so many different things. Is there anything that keeps you kind of up at night or just kind of angers you, like any social injustice that you think or feel you could be called
I,
to?
I could definitely relate with you on the human trafficking one. That really is a soft spot for me, just because I've had domestic violence and, I've gone through that path. So I kind of understand it. I've gone through SA. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Been SA'd. So I kind of have a heart for that for sure. Um, but the one that really, really, I wouldn't say keeps me awake, because nothing really keeps me awake. I just pass out. But the one that really I'm constantly thinking about is just, and I don't know if it's a social injustice, but basically it comes down to everyone has had trauma. And if you don't deal with your trauma, you're going to be living in your own prison of your own mind. So how to get free out of that, right? I guess that's why people have recently said I should be in counseling, um, because I want to let people know the truth, right? Everything that goes on in the mind, it's a battlefield. And if you can conquer that, then your actions just follow through. So if you're stuck and you're deceived, and many people are deceived, you're going to be living a life of deception. But if you actually know the truth, you know who your identity is, you know that there is a God who made you, who loves you, who adores you. Um, you're going to live your life differently. You're going to live your life in freedom, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I would say that would be my passion, for people to know the truth.
Yeah, that's awesome. And counseling, you said too. Like, and they also say your passion. So discover your passion. I would write these down, you guys. Anything that angers you, anything that keeps you up at night. A second one that came to my mind was just, yeah, basically anything, that angers you. Now I just lost my thought. I know it's going to come back to me with the purpose thing, but yeah, it's definitely going to come back. I just have to think about it for a second. But was there any points that you had surrounding purpose as well?
Actually, yeah, so I just have a fact here. Um, it just says the purpose paradox. So, meaning actively and obsessively searching for a single grand purpose can also lead to anxiety and make life harder to find. So, often purpose is revealed through action, engagement, reflection on what feels meaningful, and not through passive contemplation alone. So, kind of what you were talking about.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's very good.
Mhm.
Very true. And
But I think that's where people get stuck too, because if they're trying to find their purpose and they can't, right? Then you just stay in this monotonous circle of doing nothing.
mhm. No, that's true. And then, oh yeah, okay. Now my thought came back to me. The second point with surrounding purpose, at least for me, is when you have enough people say what you're good at. So you may not think you're, great at doing certain things, but there's enough people that keep confirming to you. So, for example, people have said that I'm a good communicator. I haven't always felt that way in boardrooms, right? I get super scared. I'm like, what are people thinking of me? They probably think I'm stupid, or they probably don't think that I have the right words for things. And then I get in my own head. I used to be a lot like that when I managed an office in a boardroom and had to be in front of 25 people, sometimes 100 people, and deliver a message, especially when I wasn't the best at insurance, but I ended up in the insurance industry for like 10 years. So I had to push myself through it, and I could see people snickering and laughing, and and it kind of felt like high school, or brought me back as a child when people would laugh or laugh at you, right? Or mock
Mhm.
you. Um, and then it makes you feel like inadequate. So, but when you look at the people that say good things, like people have said, I'm a good communicator, they say I have a soft voice. I've heard that a lot online, which I found kind of funny. They said my voice was soothing. I'm like, really?
You do have a nice voice.
Really? Yeah, I'm surprised by that because what comes to mind was being in grade 7 or 8, and this boy came up to me that I really liked, and he's like, "Oh, she's or someone said, "Oh, you're like a rose or something," and then he's like, "More like a thorn bush, you know." You're more like prickly like a thorn bush than a rose or whatever. So that kind of stood out to me. It just reminds me of that moment. I don't know why, of someone saying something negative about you, right?
Right.
But I used to hear that on radio, and I heard that also on the platforms I've been on, people have said I have a really calm, soothing voice. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So those things, and then I would say connecting people, like being able to connect with pretty much anyone,
Yeah,
any
you get that.
culture, yeah, any culture, any age, just being able to connect. I'm a huge community driven. I love community. I love connecting people and just joining people together. I love that. I love sitting down and having conversations with people. So those are some things that made me think, oh, okay, maybe it would be good to kind of move in that down that route. Is there anything that people have said about you? I know a few people have said some things recently about you, but I want you to say it. But is there anything that you could think of that people have said about you that could kind of lead you more into your purpose?
Yeah, so it started off with teaching. I'm a good teacher. And I was like, what? I'm like, there's no way I'm a good, because I feel I'm not a good communicator. And to be a teacher, you have to be able to communicate and simplify things. I guess I'm okay at simplifying things, but I never would have thought in a million years people would have said, yeah, you're good at teaching. And then recently, um, 3 or 4 people mentioned that I should do counseling. And I'm like, what? There's no way I never would have thought that I would have even gone down that route. I mean, I don't think I'm going to go back to school for it, but I don't know. So,
I
but
can
I
see that.
always personally thought I was good at other things.
Like what?
Math for one. I was really good. All those career tests that said I should have been an accountant. Um, and obviously, most of my career I did do floral design, so you have to know angles and things like that. So, as well as obviously like when it comes to like colors and textures, like interior design or fashion, like I love that kind of stuff. But when it came to like communicating at all, like there's no way I would think teacher or counselor. Like I can't even talk properly.
Yeah, it is so crazy. I don't know about the accounting, girl. I don't know. We might have to ask your husband about that one, especially the way you shop, the way you shop for clothes and everything. I don't know. Are you accountant? Are you looking at your
Well, that's what
budget?
he says. He's like, I don't know how you have so much savings and how you shop as much as you do. He's like, how is that even possible? I'm like a constant calculator in my head.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other things I definitely see counseling, and yeah, you are a very good teacher. You're a very good storyteller. Like your stories
Really?
are your stories are very interesting. Make sure you guys check out Beauty Blossom on TikTok. You could run through all her clips and see her storyline, and everything's true. Like nothing's fabricated. Everything she says it
I'm
how it
not good
is.
at making I'm not yeah, I'm not good at what's the word? I have no filter. I'm trying to work on having a filter.
Mhm. I have a filter, so then people, you know,
Yeah, you have a filter.
so
Yeah.
then people think, "Oh, is she really who she is?" Um, you know. But I am pretty much like this in real life too, right? I don't think I'm any other way.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. I don't know. So I do find it funny how people perceive you, right? But I think the main thing is how does God perceive you? You know, I think once you start learning those things, like how does he see you? How are you created through his eyes? You know, like
Yeah.
is it once you start learning that, what have you discovered about yourself? Like what has he shown you about yourself that you could say?
Mm, I think because I've had so much trauma and I came from a pretty dysfunctional family, I think he's shown me that because I always used to feel guilty for everything that I don't have to. Like I haven't, you know what I mean? Not that I haven't done anything wrong, but for the things that I would feel guilty about because other people haven't healed from their trauma and would kind of like throw it on you. Um, how I don't have to feel guilty, how it's okay to set boundaries. Um, and overall, I just know that I am deeply and greatly loved. And that love is unconditional. Like there's nothing that I could ever, the only thing that I could ever do is basically pledge my unallegiance or walk away. And he would still love me. He would still take me back. Um, but yeah, knowing that I am deeply loved makes a world of difference because a lot of people don't know that. And that's why a lot of people haven't found healing because they're trying to find it in other people, but you will never find it in another person.
Yeah, or the next relationship, the next big hit, the next big thing, the next
Right.
big stage. It's just like everything just constantly feeds our flesh, like constantly feeds our ego, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting too when you're serving. I think sometimes you stumble across your purpose as well. Like you said, you get busy. Like it's not about performing, but sometimes you kind of stumble in it. And it's always the people that are inadequate, the people that are like David's, or I look at the people in the Bible and just like how they were, they felt so inadequate. Like Moses had a stuttering problem, and he's like, no, like choose someone else for this job. Like, don't choose me. This is the remix version of it, guys, by the way. Or you look at David, like his own family didn't pick him, but yet he slayed the giant. He slayed Goliath, the tiniest little pipsqueak. I imagine this
Yeah.
little tiny. I wonder how tall he was. How tall do you think he was?
Probably like 5'10".
Oh, I think he was shorter than that. I'm thinking like 5'6" or something.
Five,
No.
6.
Oh, well, who knows? And I was thinking like maybe 80 pounds, like just a little, I envisioned just like a little twerpy kid, you know?
Well, yeah, I guess he was like what, 13, 14 when he did it, 15 maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And it's just interesting because there's so many people that just didn't feel like they were qualified or equipped. But he equips you for the call, right? So sometimes you
Mhm.
just walk into it and you don't even know you're flying at the seat of your pants. You're like, shoot, how do I even do this? But he actually uh, equips you and qualifies you and uses the most unlikely people, not the most crafted people, but the most unlikely people. Why do you think he
Yeah,
does that? Do you think he does that on purpose?
because he favors the humble.
Hmm.
He's against the proud. He won't even pay attention to the proud. He looks for that humble heart.
But then you see the proud so much in this society succeeding. Like, haven't you ever thought that you're in your workplace, or you look on social media and you just see people that like lie and cheat, and they're just opportunists, and they're not good people, but
Yeah,
everyone
but
like
you know what
praises
David
them.
wrote about those people, right?
Yeah, go ahead. You could explain it.
So basically, because he thought the same thing too. How can all these wicked people get away with all these wicked things, right? But we all have a day that we will answer. We all have a day that's coming that we're going to stand face to face. And pretty much, if you haven't received, Christ as your savior, then uh, because he pays the penalty for what you've done and your sins. But if you haven't, then you're answering for every single wicked thing that you've done or spoken.
Yeah, that terrifies me the most.
That's terrifying.
I definitely
That's
think
terrifying.
about that so much, like heaven and hell. And I think about how much our lives here are literally a drop in the ocean to what's to
Yep.
come. Like, it's such a small drop that we get so fixated on life issues and world problems, just like everything happening. And you can't blame anyone because it's been tough the last 6 years or ever since the pandemic, it's been really tough for so many people, right? And everyone
Yep.
has their own personal battles they're facing, whether they show it on social media or whether they don't. Like everyone, every single one of us, we're a lot more human. And I think interviewing so many people from different countries, I've realized that doesn't matter how big they are, how small they are, what they've done, we're all interconnected. We're all kind of the same in a way. Doesn't matter what culture you are, how old you are. That's one thing I've noticed interviewing people. It doesn't matter how different we are. We are actually, as humans, we're all a lot more alike than different, you know?
Well, because we all are human,
Yeah,
right? We
exactly.
all bleed red. We all have 2 arms, 2 feet, you know.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah. But I guess I was just thinking about that. Like, I'm just always amazed because there's so many different people, different cultures, ethnicities, different countries, how we interpret things. Like, there's so many different things living in different places, but just sitting down and having conversation with so many people, it's just like, wow, like we are pretty much the same, whether they think that or not, you know? So,
Absolutely.
and it's beautiful how he's created each of us, like how no one has the same fingerprint as you do. Like, that's how special you are. Like, there's not one person on the planet that has this fingerprint. Maybe these hammer thumbs, but not this fingerprint, or the same DNA. Like, that's how special you are created in his eyes, your hair texture, the way you look, whether you're short, you're tall. If they see us together, I mean, we're like water and oil. We're pretty opposite, you know,
Yep. Yep.
at least physically, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, but it just works, Um, but anyways, yeah, I'm just always amazed at just how he's created us. So anytime you second guess and wonder why you're here, or if there's even any purpose for you, um, or maybe even being born in a family of dysfunction, or born in an environment that, didn't really portray what what God wanted for you, you're still here for a purpose much larger, right? Do you have anything?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, no, and I think that's what it comes down to once again. I think finding your purpose would solve a lot of the problems in your life.
Mhm.
Because if you found your purpose then and you know your identity, right? You're not going to tolerate certain crowds anymore. You're not going to entertain lies in your head, maybe words that people have spoken about you, said you're this or that or this. You're not going to do any of that because you realize what your purpose is, and you're going to be hopefully focused on that and fulfilling that purpose.
And it's interesting too. I don't know if you could come up with any examples, but the more you dive into purpose and the more you have a servant, and it's called like a servant leader. So almost being a silent leader, you're serving, but you're leading, but no one really knows. You're not posting it on social media. You're not going around saying, hey, look at me, I'm doing this, and there's nothing wrong, I don't feel, with anyone posting.
Mhm.
But I was reading somewhere that, if you get man's applause, that's your reward here on earth. But
Yeah.
if you do things silently, like really from your heart and for God, your applause is up in heaven. So when you
Mhm.
pass away, it's like thousands and thousands of angels and people. It's like your praise and applause is there. But if you choose to, showcase everything you're doing here, your applause is just ends with people on earth. Have you heard that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I've that's one of the verses that sticks with me because once again I read that probably in my teen years. So I've kind of made an effort to do more things secretly. and not go bragging about it. Just because, yeah, I want my reward in heaven to be great, right? I'd rather have my reward in heaven than here personally.
Mm-hmm. I have to work on that too because I'm in such a social media atmosphere and the fields I'm in. It's like you always kind of have to stay active and showcase and this and that. And, sometimes it could be tiring too, right? So I definitely have to work on that. But have you ever noticed too when you've had a servant heart or you're serving, you're thinking you're helping someone else, but in turn, they're actually helping you?
Oh yeah. Um, like I said, like I thought I was sharing my story. Maybe it was going to help one or two people, right? But in me sharing it, it actually set me free. So along the way, I'd share parts of it with certain people, but I never like sat down and fully processed from beginning to end my entire journey. And I didn't even realize it at the time when God told me to do it. But essentially, I would say it was more for me because afterwards, even my husband noticed I was like a different person. I had like this new level of freedom that I never felt before. Um, and that's what happens. And that's why God tells, He says, let the redeemed of the Lord share their story so that you're not you're not stuck in shame anymore. You're not stuck in anything because he's literally set you free and brought you through. And now you're just sharing so others can know you can also be set free. You can also have healing. You're not what your past said you were, basically. Um it brought I think I said it on the group we did, one of the groups we did. I said it kind of brought me back to the place of being a child before anything traumatic had ever happened to me. Like that joy, that newness of life. Um, Basically, it felt like this huge wall had lifted from my soul and my spirit. And I was able to finally be like my true self as God intended for me to be without the extra depression, anxiety, shame, guilt, fear, all of that. That was like lifted off of me.
But it was a process, right? It's not like everything happened right away. Like it was a process getting there too, right?
Well, yeah, I think I had mentioned that. But like I said, I had shared bits and parts here and there, but I don't know what it was. But after I was done on TikTok, like, and I still haven't shared, I stopped it when I met Owen the second time. So I haven't shared that part yet.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was done most of it, I didn't even notice myself. It was my husband that noticed, like, who are you? Because I was doing like some crazy stuff. I felt like I came back to the joy that I used to have before all this trauma had taken place in my life. And I like, it took him to say it for me to realize, like, I think because, and I'm not saying everyone should share it with the world, their stories. That's just what God called me to do. So, and I think that was one of the reasons that I didn't even know that would be the result, that I would literally feel free, like completely free.
Okay. Now I'm just wondering, I noticed our screens are freezing. So I'm hoping we're not frozen or it's still continuing. Let's see here. Okay. It's showing that you are completely stuck. Can you guys hear out there? Let us know if you guys could hear. Just drop it in the chat if you can. If guys could still hear us. Cause can you still hear me as well?
I could still hear you, yeah.
Okay, so let us know if you guys could still hear us. It looks like it's stuck. Um, you're frozen. It doesn't look like I am, but I think you are. So I don't know. As long as if
Oh,
they could still hear us, we'll just keep continuing.
yep, that's fine.
Yeah. It's so funny the way you're kind of frozen here. Um, okay, so you could still hear. Okay, thank you so much for letting us know. Okay, we're just going to keep continuing as well. Um, and hopefully this works. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. Hopefully we'll keep it going. All right. So yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it definitely takes, uh, can be a lifetime, just learning and unlearning things and learning things back again, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I didn't even know that would happen. Right? I didn't know that would be the result of just me sharing my story. I didn't want to do it for so long. I think, like I mentioned before, I think it was like a year, maybe 2 years. And I felt like I was saying, write it out. So I did that first. And then, as you know, it got wiped out because my husband took my laptop to go get cleaned. Anyway, so I was like, God, I'm not doing that again because I'm not a writer. And that was really hard work for me. So he was like, okay, put it on TikTok. I was like, what do you mean put it on TikTok? I don't want to be on video. I hate being on video. And it was actually you who pressured me to finally do it. And it was actually you that day. I did it that day. You're like, you just gotta do it. You just gotta do it. I was like, fine, fine, fine. So I did.
Nice. Yeah, this is
Yeah. And like I said, I had never would have thought in a million years that it would literally set me free. Like I thought I had already healed from a lot of stuff, but I think it has shown me that I hadn't fully healed from all this previous trauma that I experienced.
so true. I'm still trying to fix my OBS to try to get your video working here, because it's definitely frozen on YouTube and Twitch here, but I'm not. But this ball keeps circulating. It's this ball people hate, especially in Serato when you're doing a live performance, and then it
Right.
just keeps spinning on your computer and you're freaking out because you're like, oh my gosh, I have a minute. As a DJ, I have one more minute to get the next track on in front of 500 people. That happened to me at Dundas Square too. I was like, oh, please help this work. If it doesn't work, then I'm going to give it another minute and then I'll shut it down and restart it again. Um, so if you guys are listening on Twitch or YouTube, Facebook, I was trying to get Facebook working. That's why I pressed it, and that's why it's not
Lord.
working. I shouldn't have pressed anything. I should have kept it going. But
Oh Lord.
anyways, come back, you guys. If come back to us if I have to restart everything, because I would like to get her video working, and and yeah, and we'll continue because this thing is not moving at all. Okay, so yeah, definitely come back, you guys, if on YouTube, on Twitch, and Facebook, and actually, I think I am gonna reboot it, and I'm gonna cut this out from the podcast.
Okay.
So, okay, you know what, guys, we will be back in 2 minutes. I'm gonna reboot everything because nothing's working here. I'm going to restart my program. So come back to us, YouTube, Twitch, and hopefully Facebook. If Facebook doesn't work, then we'll just stick to Twitch and YouTube under DJ Honeyflow. But right now we are talking about purpose, and we have lots to cover, so we will be back as well. So just give us a minute.
Do, 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 do.
Okay, I'll be back to Beauty Blossom.
All right.